You're listening to the Thrivers Podcast, episode number 2. I'm your host, Candice Czaplak, and today's episode is all about failure, reinvention, and passion.
There's too much going on, too much going on that we can get distracted by. So if it's not what we're here to do, then we need to put it off and focus it somewhere else. That's not mine to do. I love that one. That's not mine to do. So give it to somebody else who God created them to do it, and then feel good about that, and they feel good about it, and everybody wins.
How do you go from a successful international business with sales of over 20 million through bankruptcy and losing everything, only to end up feeling reinvigorated and full of passion? Stay tuned to find out. You are here to do something special. You have a unique genius, and there is something that you're here to bring forth into the world. You are an entrepreneur daring to do your own thing to make positive change in the world. Working longer, working harder, with more struggle and more striving, and adding endless things to your to-do list is not the answer to expanding your impact or growing your income. It's time to tune into you. It's time to work smarter, not harder, and finally begin to enjoy the success and fulfillment you truly desire. Your best success starts on the inside. When you do the work on the inside, then you can expand your positive impact while more success shows up on the outside. You deserve to have all the time, money, and freedom you need to live the life you truly desire and leave a legacy you're proud of without having to make stupid sacrifices or lose all sense of balance. You deserve to thrive. After a 30-year career in retail selling everything from shirts to stocks, with only a computer and a plan, Bobbi Govanus launched her own small business in the computer training industry. From her basement in Minnesota, Bobbi quickly grew the business to over 20 million in sales, leading Entrepreneur magazine to recognize her as their home-based business owner of the year, and Minnesota to honor her as their Women in Business advocate. Unfortunately, one business move by just one of her biggest customers, and all of this success came tumbling down. Down but definitely not out, Bobbi used her failure and her faith as fuel to reinvent herself and her business. Today, Bobbi is an Amazon best-selling author, speaker, and the creator of the Reinvention Retreat, where she uses her insights and skills as a certified passion test facilitator and master event planner to help people find their passion and make the rest of their life the best of their life. Let's get on with the show. Prepare to thrive. Well, welcome everyone to the Thrivers Podcast. I'm so happy to have my wonderful dear friend, Bobbi Govanus, with me today. Hi, Bobbi. How are you?
I am wonderfully well. Thank you very much for asking.
Good. We are here today to talk about reinvention and failure and all of those wonderful things that we don't like to really talk about, right?
Well, it's not so much that we don't like to talk about it. I think we don't want to admit it. I mean, it's like once we get started talking about it, it's okay. But none of us like to admit that we need to reinvent or that it's time to get out of that rut we've been sailing along in for too long, or that we failed at anything. That's a big deal. For most people, we don't ever want to say, I did that wrong. I made a mistake. I failed at that. And what I've found, and obviously you brought it up because I've written a book about that, is that we need to reinvent after failure, but take it for what it is. It's a lesson. It's just okay, this is the wrong road. You need to make a turn. Maybe you've reached the peak in what you can do in that area. Now it's time to, take on something else, something new, something different. One of the things that I really learned from a girlfriend who grew up in a household where every day she had to report what she failed at dinner. That was how her family operated. And the reason they did that was to say, if you haven't tried and failed at something, that means you haven't tried. So if you haven't gotten out there and pushed yourself out of your comfort zone, you haven't gotten to a new level of expertise. So if she tried skiing, or if she tried being a cheerleader, or the first time you do anything, it's like the baby. The first time they walk, they fall down, and so we have to take that mindset on. And when we do that, holy cow, it opens up all kinds of possibilities, because then it's like, I can do anything. And it's okay. I don't have to worry if I fail, because it's just a learning experience. And that just means that, and you find out, hey, I don't like basketball, or I don't like golf, or I don't like public speaking, but you've got to try it. And one of the things that my mother used to say about me, she won't say shit if she had a mouthful. I wouldn't speak when I was a kid. It was like, I read all the time. And nowadays you can't shut me up. So it's a great thing once you figure it out, that you've got something to say, you should say it. And if people don't want to hear it, they'll just say, hey, goodbye, so that's a good thing, right?
Yes, absolutely. I love that. So when did you come across, did you grow up with this friend?
No, I didn't meet her. No, later in life. She really was somebody that God put in my path. Because I was at a time when I was going through really recriminations about failing a marriage, failing a this, and she was amazing woman. She just kept tackling things and not afraid to try things. And so I met her at a church function and we talked, and she said, well, this is how I grew up. And I was like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Because in my family, we weren't allowed to fail. If you failed, that meant you did something wrong, and they wouldn't talk to the nuns about it. And, it was just like, that was a bad deal, so learning the perspective about good and bad, putting those blinders on is really a hard thing, because you give up so much when you do that. I tell people all the time now, don't should on yourself. Don't should on yourself. Keep that perspective about it's okay. You've learned something. This is what it is. Now you've learned that this isn't the way you want to take that journey. Make a right, make a left, get off the path that you were on, because it's not the right one for you. That's all. It's just that simple. And it speaks so hard. Because I failed at a lot of things. I failed at a business. I failed at a marriage. I failed at and so when I list off those things and I think, how could I have done all that quote unquote bad? How could I have been wrong about this, job or that person? And then that you can go down that road and bury yourself in grief about something. And then you're wasting what God gave you to give to the world, because you can't concentrate on anything good when you're feeling tense, angry, frustrated, all those negative emotions. So it's time to reinvent. It's time to find out what you're passionate about and just start over in a different way.
Absolutely. Wow, there's so much I could pull out of that. Which is wonderful. One of the things that really strikes me about that is, so you say, that I've failed at a lot of things, and what a blessing to have this friend in your life. First of all, my goodness, if only we as parents, you're a parent, you're a grandmother, I'm a mom to two boys, I try. I wasn't raised that way either, but I try with them to encourage, encourage them to try things and to do things, and to not look at failure as a bad thing. It's hard though. That stuff gets hardwired from our youth and society and everything else. And it really is hard to overcome that. So what a blessing that she was able to kind of come in and bring that shift for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now with yours though, and you mentioned that God put her on your path, and you also mentioned, that it's time for us to live our purpose and to reinvent. And sometimes we have to reinvent to really be able to live into our purpose,
right?
What God has put us here to do. Do you find that those failures, like looking back, I mean, hindsight is always 2020. But looking back at those things that happened in your life that at the time you thought were crushing failures for you, what do you think about them now when you see how those events have unfolded in your life and kind of shaped your journey? Did they open up? I mean, I believe that they always open up room for something better or something greater. Like it's a nudge to go in a different direction because that's just not quite right for you. Is that what you experienced?
Right, I did. The marriage that I worked so hard to preserve, I was single 7 years afterwards. I was really having a hard time getting out of it. And, I dated a lot of people, but I just wasn't interested in ever getting married again. And then I met my husband now, and we've been married 33 years, So, it's pretty amazing. We met on a blind date and we got married 6 weeks later.
Okay. Now, if that isn't just some universal forces at work there, I don't know what is. That is awesome. And 33 years. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, we're very excited. Mm-hmm.
Yes, because anyone who thinks that marriage is easy is wrong.
Right. No, it's never easy. I believe every day you have to get up and just say, I'm in love with you. Even if you leave your dirty socks on and even if you, leave the toothpaste open, and even if all the things that push your little buttons, you just have to say, I love you in spite of, or because of, or whatever, but you just make the choice. And it's all about a choice. It's all about a choice. And every day we have to make the choice to be happy, and we have to make the choice to be fulfilled, and we have to make the choice to be focused, because there's too much going on. Too much going on that we can get distracted by. So if it's not what we're here to do, then we need to put it off and focus it somewhere else. That's not mine to do. I love that one. That's not mine to do. So give it to somebody else it is God created them to do it, and then feel good about that, and they feel good about it, and everybody wins. So, but if you are focusing on the wrong things, you're never going to be happy, ever.
Absolutely. And you're right. There are so many things that we can be focused on. Mm-hmm. And particularly, as entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial minded people, I mean, I think we're hardwired to see different opportunities, and there's this option and there's that option, and so is doing this. And, every minute, I swear there's a new guru coming out to tell you what to do in your business. This is the cool new thing, and this is this shiny little squirrel running over here. I love what you said though. You have to focus. And what was the phrase you used? That's not for me, or that's not my thing.
It's not mine to do. That's not mine to do. If you take and look at everything you've got in your day, I had the whole I started my own company, and I had grown it to $1 million in like 6 months, and then $2.5 million the first full year. And so I hired somebody to do my accounting right away because I knew I could do it. I had a math background. I had, but I'm a bubbly, go out and sell, get out and do that stuff. And it was like, this was killing me. It was killing me. So I said, this is not mine to do. I hired somebody that I trusted, and then kept growing my company and kept growing it to $5 million. And so if you keep hanging on to the things that you are not supposed to do, you will slow your growth down. I love the E-Myth. It talks about making an org chart, finding all the things that you have to do in your business to be successful, and then you just start filling in the spaces. When you're ready, when you can afford to hire, which hire to do first. And that's the thing that you're not supposed to be doing, because then you're going to be much more creative and you'll make much more money. So it's really all about finding what's yours to do and doing it.
Absolutely. Oh, yes, you're speaking my language. That's why we get along so well, Bobbi. I mean, and I do, and that's the whole purpose of Thrivers, and that's why I started this podcast and why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I see so many people on this planet wandering around. They're either confused or floundering. They're unfulfilled. They don't enjoy what they're doing. They're miserable. They're making everybody else's lives miserable because, and it's simply because they haven't tuned into themselves and given themselves permission to say, okay, what is it that I truly enjoy? What is it that I want to do? And how can I understand myself better and try to shape my life and my business, my career, my work, all of that around the things that I'm good at, what I'm here to do. I mean, you have the passion test. So what are your passions? How can we make sure that we're living into our passions and our purpose and our strengths every day in our relationships, our life, our work, all of it? Right. Because it makes it so much better. To me, that's what being successful is.
Well, that self-discovery is so important that you can't, I mean, that became my focus to try to help people. The very thing. I mean, when I started the Reinvention retreat 6 years ago, the one thing I put in there was the passion test to help people self-discover. There's lots of other ways to do it. Enneagram, the emotional quotients, you can do all kinds of things. But if you do those and you figure out what you're good at, then you're going to at least have, I mean, 2/3 of the way of the work done. If you can figure that out, then you start to focus and you can say, I can delegate this for $10 an hour. I can delegate that for $15 an hour. I can sell and do $50 an hour. It's easy math.
Yeah, easy math. Who doesn't love easy math?
Exactly.
Right?
It doesn't take a brain scientist to do that. So, or a brain surgeon or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because just because I'm with you, right? I mean, as many businesses as I've had, and I've usually done the accounting, right? Because it was easier that way. And, but just because you can do it
doesn't mean you should.
Doesn't mean you should. Absolutely. And you'll have so much more joy if you are able to focus on the things that you do and do best.
Right.
Wow. So self-discovery piece is huge. So when you mentioned reinvention and that that you kind of took your failures and looked at them as opportunities, or were able to shift them and see them as opportunities for reinvention. And I love that. Mm-hmm. Tell me more about what that is for you.
Well, I think the big aha for me was I was running like I said, $5 million company. One August day, I get a phone call from a client, but what had happened is their bond people went in and bought all of one franchise up, which 42 franchises across the country, and I was dealing with 30 of them in my company, and they owed me $500,000 and they were declaring bankruptcy. They had consolidated it under this bonds just to do that. And I was running a brokerage service. I was providing trainers. And so I had to pay the trainers or I'd be out of business, So it was like $500,000, 10% of my year was gone, and so I had to regroup and figure out what I was going to do. And I went through my staff and I said, if you don't believe we can make it, leave now. I'll give you a month's worth of severance to figure out, find a new job, whatever, because I can't have you be here if you don't think we're going to make it. And, lost 5 of them. They, and it was interesting. The men quit. The women stayed, and we kept it afloat for 7 more years. But I didn't take a salary for 7 years.
For 7 years?
For 7 years, right.
Wow.
So we depleted all of our savings, all of our everything, and finally had to declare bankruptcy. So at the end of that 7-year period, I lost my house, I lost everything because I had decided to keep the company open. Now, anybody else could have made the decision at the beginning and said, I'm going to declare bankruptcy, screw the people that worked with me. I did not pay one trainer. It was my commitment to them. There was, even if I didn't get paid, I was going to pay them because it wasn't their fault. And not to say it was, anybody's balls, quote unquote, except for the bond traders that decided that they wanted to do this. So long story short, I found the passion test and the book by Brian Tracy called Reinvention, Making the Rest of Your Life the Best of Your Life. Those two books saved my butt, because I really, even all the stuff that I'd been doing, all of the positive things and all of the, I'd got my mini MBA on leading entrepreneurial companies and done all this good stuff. And I was just not ready for this. I mean, it was my baby. I had created this from nothing, so I had to let it go. And thus the reinvention retreats were born. And I found this passion test. I read the book and did it by the book and learned that there was facilitators that did this all around the country, because I contacted Janet and said, Janet, I think maybe you should and she said, oh yeah, I've already done that. I have facilitators. I think that, we can. I was okay. I said, well, you won't come yourself then to do it. She's like, no, but I have some good people. So she sent me one of her top people in the first time. And it was like, OMG, doing it live was just an amazing thing. And so we did that for 5 years. And then I decided I just got to get certified. So do this myself because, I'm getting ready to quote unquote retire from the business world. And so I wanted to do that. And so I did and became a passion test facilitator myself. And now I help lead all of the passion tests for my reinvention retreat and do it for other people too. So I'm very excited about that because I do think, I hate to say this, but this was back in the 2000s, right, when all this was happening, right after 2002 is when they declared bankruptcy and owing me all this money. So of course 2008 was the 7 years later, so everything was crumbling around us. So it really was a difficult time. And so rebuilding and creating and reinventing was crucial for me. And so what I found out though was that at that point, only 20% of the people that work in the United States were engaged in their job. 20%. 80% were going through the angst of unhappiness and unfulfillment and hating it and, hitting the snooze alarm and living for Fridays. And, all of the stuff that, you talk about. And I was like, oh, that's very bad. I didn't realize because I had never felt like that. Ever. Right. I'd always been motivated and even when I worked for somebody else, it was, it was up to me to keep the lights on and I was going to do it, and so it really is important for people to feel good about what they're doing, to be passionate about what they're doing every day. And whether that is their part-time thing, whether that is their hobby, but all of that contributes to being a happier person. And so they need to figure that out and then bring it into their life, even if it's one little half an hour increment in a day, a little bit of happiness and every single day. If you want to write, if you want to paint, if you want to, make toys or create a Lego blocks or whatever it is, you can do it. And so you just have to do it every day and make that, if it means getting up a half hour early or quit watching TV or whatever it means, then when you know that, all of a sudden, then you've got a reason to be happy, a reason to get up in the morning, a reason to make your kids happy. So yeah, you can put a nickel in me and I'll talk for 47 minutes. Sorry. But yes, that's my passion.
I got lots of nickels, Bobbi.
It's my passion. What can I say?
Oh, well, and that's the thing. You can tell, like, I know 80-20, isn't that? And I want to turn that on its head.
I know, me too.
I want 80, and I know you do. I know.
It's getting better in the United States. It's up to 33%. Are engaged now, which is, but I hate to say this, but universally in the whole world, it's only 13%.
Well, at least we're better than the rest of the world, right? I mean, that's a plus.
It's increasing, but the point is that we have a mission and we really do need to help other people. And when you look at some of the other countries, I think the awareness of what's happening, and having the internet, and they're more aware now. And so they're feeling more angst. Before, they were kind of living in oblivion, and they didn't know that this wasn't good, or that, that good and bad thing. And so now they're unhappier. And it's our fault, I mean, I'm like, I feel bad because we've done that to them. So we need to figure this out and say, okay, well, this is how you fix this now that we brought you this to begin with. So anyway.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what it's all about, is how do we fix that? And I think you brought up a really, really critical point, because I talk to people all the time and they'll be like, I would love to own my own business. I just, and I have this passion or that passion. But my goodness, they just don't know where to start. They don't see the shift that's possible. Mm-hmm. And it's true. I mean, if you have a family, you have children, you may have a passion to do your own thing, to start your own business, to become an entrepreneur. It doesn't necessarily happen in one fell swoop, in one big, huge, massive, burn all the bridges, action. And it doesn't have to. I mean, you can start with just simple little things that allow you to be happier, be more fulfilled.
To thrive.
Yes, to thrive. Absolutely. To thrive. It can start with just the small little things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you mentioned you are approaching retirement, or were approaching retirement.
I will never, yes, you're laughing because you know me. I will never retire.
I know.
I will just drop dead one day and they'll go, okay, she's done now. Because I just am very passionate about life. I love to travel. I love to be with my family, and I love to create, but I also love to serve philanthropically. I love to write. I love to be, and so every day is an adventure, and so I'm still consulting and working with clients, and still doing, the marketing maven stuff, as well as, being very much involved with Women's Executive Council and helping them raise money, and helping raise money for several other charities in town, and involved, and just, I love it. I just love it. So it's really, I mean, we have our understanding of what God put us here to do. And I do think that when you find that, then you're never going to be retired. You're going to live and love and keep working, because that's what you love to do. I mean, it's just exciting then. You don't want to stop. Some of my girlfriends are like, why? I'm 67. So I just take each day, and they're like, why are you doing that? Well, I like it. I love doing this. And so, yeah, it's good stuff.
Yes, we know you will never retire. And you are I have to say, you are such a blessing to so many organizations and so many people, myself included. And it's an honor to, have met you and to have had opportunities to work side by side with you. And I hope that there'll be many, many more. And I personally, selfishly, am very glad that you didn't just decide to, hit a certain age and retire and, move to Fiji or something. And, we would never see you again.
Yeah,
so.
No. That's one of the things about the next phase of retiring, the Reinvention retreat. I'm creating now Reinventing Retirement, because most of us, and I say this, with facts behind us, most women will live to be 87, which means that I have 20 more years at the short side. My grandmother and my great-grandmother lived into their late 90s. There is someone alive right now who's going to live to be 150 because of
really? I didn't know that.
Yes. The technology, if you go out and look, what do they predict the oldest person? And that person is alive right now, who will live to be 150. So we have to stop thinking about 65 as old, because it's not. When I think about what my grandparents were like at 65, and then they still lived 30 more years, and they still had a farm, and they still did this, and they still went fishing every day, and they still, had Thanksgiving dinners, and, it was like they lived just full out. My grandmothers were very down to earth, very vital people. And so God forbid, but that's the way I think I'll live my life. So I have to live it, or you have to think it that way. You know what I mean? You think that you're going to be sick and, tired and whatever, then you'll be sick and tired, I mean, so you have to say, I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to be active and I'm going to be, and I have vision boards in 3 places in my house with me, out there doing my dancing and doing my trips on cruises and doing my speaking on podcasts and, writing my blogs and my books and, because that's what I love. So. And that's, I mean, they had what they loved. My grandmother, at 90, she would go out and wring the chicken's neck herself, come in, clean it, cook it. I mean, at 90, that's what she was doing. She loved her farm. That's what she did. She was canning stuff when she was 90 years old, cooking. I mean, she was, how some people eat to live. She lived to eat. So this is what her life was around, today's we're going to be doing this, and that's what she focused on and made up recipes, so just that, but that's what she loved. So that's what helped her stay young, and active and excited. So each of us have to find that for ourselves, and that's what my reinventing retirement is going to be. If it's not playing golf, I mean, let's face it, men think that they're going to retire and play golf. And they love it for 6 months, and then they want to go in and rearrange their wife's kitchen. They want to organize the, the spices need to be by alphabetical, and she's ready to kill them. So everybody has to figure out the mindset. And if they want to volunteer, they want to coach, we need mentors. We need people that are interested and excited and doing things, and we could solve all the problems in the world. Because these baby boomers have got it going on. We are smart people. We lived through the best generation. We've got, we've figured it out. Now we just have to get comfortable. As Gary Vaynerchuk says, we just have to get comfortable with technology and we can fix everything. And he's 41. He knows we got it. We just need to get comfortable with the technology and figure it out, and then we'll go for it. Then we'll go forward and rule the world. Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I mean, there's so much to be gained from all generations, both ways. I love opportunities for generations to commingle and get together. I mean, me, Bobbi, I do my best to learn, and I learn something from every interaction that I have, either about me or about the world or about how people work. I'm curious that way. And yes, boomers have a lot of experience, and I hope more of them will continue to reinvent after this. I mean, because really, what is retirement anyway? Like you said, this is 65. It's this arbitrary number who decided on that? Like Social Security, the government, Social Security? Like, what does that mean? Exactly. If you're going to live to be 90 years old, you want to make sure that you're doing something that you enjoy. Right. From 65 to 95 or 85 or...
Yep. Yeah, I would say, 20 to 30 years of living when you don't have to go to work every day. Holy cow. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, the freedom
yes, exactly. You just need to put on a different hat. It comes back to that entrepreneur thing. It's like, now we can do something where you've got, there's going to be a steady stream of income from your IRA or your 401k or your, if you have that luxury, and if not, then figure it out early enough to get your investments to do that, and then go ahead and create, and then go ahead and live, the way that you really wanted to.
Yeah. And leave that legacy. Some people have been able to leave a legacy. That's something I'm big on, with Thrivers. Is getting the opportunity to leave a legacy that you're proud of.
That's right.
And, by the time we get into our 60s, I would think that there's a lot of family legacies that have been left, and, impacts that you've had. But as you get to, so this is a question for you, Bobbi, as you approach 70 now, I mean, you said you're 67,
right.
As you look forward into those next years coming that you have, what is the legacy that you want to leave from now until then, whenever then maybe.
Yeah. I think 70 is just, I'm middle-aged for me, but I look at it like
I love that mindset. I love it. Yeah.
I want my legacy to really be that I opened the minds of people to realize that reinventing is an important step in the process of living, that creating new passions for yourself, because you never stand in the same river twice. Life keeps going. Even if you are standing still, your world is changing and you can't really stand still. Let's face it. If you do, you rot. And so if you do, then the stuff keeps passing you by and the logs bump into you and knock you over. And, so you have to keep moving. And that is what reinvention's about, is just keep moving in a direction that you're feeling called to move in. And finding those exciting and recognizing them. What I tell people all the time is, when they've identified their passions, that all of a sudden they see the things that are in their life that they want. They recognize them. When they don't recognize their passions or don't identify them, they're just going along. If you say, I really love nature and I want to spend more time in it, then even if you only have 20 minutes a day, when you go outside, you see that caterpillar. You recognize and listen for the bird singing. You recognize that sunset and you stop and because you've pointed in your head that is an important part of my life. That's a passion for me. Whether it's exercise, if being healthy is important to you, then you're excited when you go to exercise, when you have that opportunity or you create that opportunity to exercise. We talked about doing a 5K, a 5K is 5,000 steps. Well, 5,000 steps, most people can do that. They just don't think about it. So it's like creating an opportunity to say, yeah, and I'm recognizing that's something I want in my life, and then just doing it. My daughter and my sister-in-law both run marathons. It kills me to even think about 26.2 miles. Well, when my daughter ran her first one, she did it 4 hours. The second one, she did it in less than 3.
Wow.
1 week this summer while her kids were gone, she ran the equivalent of 2 marathons, 56 miles in a week, just because she loves it. Wow. Well, if she had never set the goal to run a marathon, she would never have recognized what a release it was to be out of her head and on her feet. So I think it's just, we have to challenge ourselves sometimes to think things differently. We have to get out of our comfort zone and recognize that God has put all this wonder in our path and we just need to see it.
Absolutely. Because when we see it and we attend to it, then we start to see more of it.
Mm-hmm.
More of it shows up in our lives.
Yep.
And we recognize it. Yeah. It's what we focus on expands, and what we think about, we bring about. All of those things. I really believe that they're true. And and it's important to choose to be intentional about what it is that we want to focus on, about what we want to bring into our lives, what we want to create in our lives, and what we want to experience, because no one else is going to bring it to us.
No.
We have to decide for ourselves what it is that we want, and just the intention alone will bring more of it into our lives, because we'll see it. You're right.
That's one of the things about the passion test. They say intention, attention, and then you're going to see the fulfillment. You're going to see the reaction. You're going to notice what's happening. And then all of a sudden it's joy. You have joy because you've given it the attention. You've put the attention on it that it deserves. Because before it was like, even if you say, well, I really wish I had $1 million, well, sitting here watching TV isn't going to get it for you. You have to give the attention to it, and so all of a sudden, then once you do that and you press hard and you work hard but then God takes over, He will bring into your life the things that are going to need to happen. So.
Yeah. And you got to take this first step. You got to
right.
identify yourself. Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, Bobbi, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed our time today. Any final final thoughts or final words that you want to leave all the listeners with? We've given them so many things to take away from the show today, many things to ponder, and they'll have resources, of course, in the show notes to be able to connect with you and learn more about your books and the Reinventing Retirement Retreat. That's coming up in March, right?
Right. It's March 8th through the 10th. It's going to be here in Orlando, and we will have some information. I'll send you some links and stuff for that. But it really is an opportunity for people 50 and over to come learn about all the hard facts stuff, but then to do the mindset stuff and the right sizing stuff and the getting passion found out and figure out, so that you're having conversation that leads you to the right place. Because too often that gets left off to the side. I'm working on my next book, which is going to be Party Planning for Your 100th Birthday, Creating a Life Worth Celebrating.
I love that.
Yeah, it's not fun. So it's but it's really all about creating something. It's not about letting it happen to you. And you can start that anytime. You can start it when you're 18. You can start it when you're 58. You can start it when you're 88. One of my favorite quotes is that you die two deaths. One when you leave the planet, and one when the last person says your name. And so if you create a legacy, then you live a lot longer. So,
I love that.
Well, it's, that's one of the things about putting scholarships out there. And that's one of the things about creating opportunities that, it's not the name on a building. People walk by the building. You want them to say your name with meaning. And so people like Oprah will probably never die. She's created a legacy Maya Angelou will never die because of the legacy she's created, the books she's written, the opportunity, the poems she's made. So it's, what is your legacy? It's what you want people to say about you when you're gone. And Absolutely. That's, I think, what reinventing retirement is all about.
Awesome. Having that ripple effect. I know that's what I live for, is to have an impact now, but also, I hope that what I do now is having an impact and will have an impact for many, many generations to come.
I hope so. And that's what we're all about. I mean, it's creating that place where when you're authentic, that stays. That is important enough to stay and be a part of somebody else's life. And they want to hold on to that.
Absolutely. Well, I want to hold on to you all day. I really do. I don't want to end the interview, and we could. I'm sure we could talk for hours, couldn't we, Bobbi?
Yes, we could.
Yes, we could. Well, it's been a pleasure. There's resources for more, and I hope you will all dive in. And whether you're 50, 51, or 95, check out Reinventing Retirement and join Bobbi and all of those other wonderful people.
I am so honored and blessed to be able to use my personal genius to add value to entrepreneurial impact makers like you,
so much. I really
who add value to others and make a positive impact on the world.
Take care, Bobbi.
Thank you for being here with us today, and I want to personally invite you to join us in the Thrivers community. Choosing the entrepreneurial route of positive impact making isn't easy, and I applaud your courage to do your own thing. Too often, I see brilliant entrepreneurial minds getting lost and confused and struggling because they become like little islands unto themselves. You don't have to be all by yourself as an entrepreneur. There are other thrivers like you who've gathered together to share tips and tricks, collaborate, and support and encourage one another. We help each other grow, share challenges, get answers, and celebrate our successes with each other. We are entrepreneurial impact makers. We are thrivers. And we are better together. Join us in the free community now at thrivers.com. That's thrivers with a Z.com. See you there.